So I guess we're back for another conversation. And this time we're gonna be exploring a few interesting trends that happened recently. Um, and I think one of the highlights would be ADIPEC that happened in Abu Dhabi recently. So for those who don't know much about it, like what happened there and like what was your impression on the opening remarks? Because me personally, I think when I first heard it, it felt like one of the it's just the first time I hear such a word given by His Excellency that is so well informed and gives a very great, like a good picture for everyone else who may not have so much context and information about the state of generative AI and the trends. So yeah, I mean, let's get this started.
Yeah, let's maybe give some context to like that what we are talking about. So first of all, the this ADIPEC one of the biggest energy events in the world, and in opening remark, I believe we will drop this link in video description to to those who interested to hear all insights. It was like a lot of different aspects, but let's focus on generative AI part. And for generative AI in particular, it was great to hear that like this dedication and this opinion for such level of decision makers. So actually, the how uh, energy effective solutions could be. So as example was given comparison between Google Search and one request to uh, chat gpt, right? But so that was great comparison, and difference was like uh, chat gpt consume 10 times more energy than one request from OpenAI. But let's think about this from another perspective. Let's expand a little bit. So when you perform like Google search, right? How often you stick with first answer? How quick you can get to your final value? So in comparison with ChatGPT, and then look at this energy efficiency and time efficiency. That what triggered like my thoughts in particular.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I'm thinking about it, I guess, from a perspective of someone who has no idea how much consumption of electricity this is requiring, and you're just asking maybe silly questions to ChatGPT. You gave the example earlier, which is like just asking about the weather to ChatGPT, and it's already consuming a lot. It's taking such capabilities and large language models just to ask a question like that. And I guess it just makes it very interesting to ask what kind of use cases would we then have to target when we're utilizing such technologies? And how can we, I guess, target different personas who are interested in different solutions, use the right solution of a search or maybe a GPT model or any large language model for that altogether?
Uh, so let's split two pieces, right? So first of all is execution efficiency, right? And when we talk about execution efficiency, we have broad spectrum of different models uh, in a place. And by the way, so I would recommend for those who are interested in technical details, look at the most recent release of Alama. So November 6th, they released vision models, also available on their website. So I would call those who are interested to explore to try, because they allow us to uh, add not only text, how to say, transformation capabilities, but also can work with images, and models very decent. So that's nice. If we return back to the question of energy efficiency, of course, we will think first of all about model dimensions and resources to run the model, and doing the classification and routing, smart routing of queries, we can achieve more energy efficient and faster, better response from the models, and at the same time we can reduce the energy consumption. And if you would look from another perspective, like look at another aspect, let's say we are working on some particular task, right? And we need to
Mm.
collect information from Google. So highly likely we may ask Google multiple different questions, multiple requests, and it would not be only one single query. At the same time, we can get to our final destination, final value with large language model much faster. So I'm not saying this like 100% for each particular task, but we have spectrum. We should look at this question broadly. So what is your gut feeling? So how what would be like more, let's say, real life scenario ratio if we compare this like end value or let's say metrics KPIs.
I would say, personally speaking, let's say if I'm on Google search and I have a lot of questions in mind that I want to ask, it just, I imagine it's very difficult, especially that now Google is giving you an AI generated response along with the search results. So I just, I guess what I'm concerned about is the phase that we're in and how much people are going to play around with this. And yeah, I guess as time passes, they are going to reduce the parameters, especially now. Maybe you have people competing over how many parameters they have. Each model has 1 billion parameters or more. I can imagine it just getting smaller and smaller based on the persona and the use case that you're doing. And I guess just giving the appropriate model for the appropriate use case and for the, yeah, for the right persona.
And
But
yes, this is the right direction. And I would say now you can even automate this. Now there are some open source solutions which can uh, reroute your question based on the complexity to different types of executors. And one of the great attempts to increase energy efficiency was introduced by Mistral, the model Mixtral, like mixture of experts, when they try to kind of isolate different domains within the model to make this model work efficiently. And one of my preferred models when I work with some particular task, because I see really like model with mm, quite big amount of parameters works quite fast, and for daily tasks very often it return very decent results in comparison, for example,
right.
with another models, heavier model.
And how do they usually like make such i- implementations more efficient? Like, what is their strategy of making the model require less electricity, less resources? How are they doing that now?
Uh, uh, I think the time to result it will be most decent KPI, like or effort to result. So if you look to like if you put head by head several models and execute the same query and see the outputs, quite often you can see the difference between vendors. Some vendors prefer to answer quickly, fast, and short. Some vendors will produce a big amount of data, and of course it could be controlled with help of the with the system prompts and other techniques. But in overall, so we cannot say so
Right.
we're always looking for short answers. So we are looking for long answers. So it depends on use case, but in general, it's better for me, more comfortable when the model will give me first like short answers, and then we can expand on some particular areas of interest. And
Right.
that's usually I suggest to clients and use by myself. Start with small, clean, like set of steps, and then expand in case we see the direction is right, because model can can generate a lot of unnecessary uh, how to
True.
say
True.
content.
And the approach. the approach can be super important because, like, I'm imagining most people who are using the conversational chatbots and they're asking maybe questions. A lot of the times, I can speak about this from experience. I'm not exactly even sure what I want. So you're already using prompts and you're asking questions, but you're not very sure about what you want yet. So to utilize the full capabilities of this model would be a waste. So what I yeah, like you said, so it should probably start with short answers, or at least start with finding out better about what you want and the purpose of your question and what you're trying to achieve before even giving the answers with so much context, information, and complexity and research maybe behind the scenes. So yeah, I mean, most people don't know what they want, and they're just playing around and they're seeing if this model will do this crazy task that they're thinking about. So probably a good approach is let the model first with small parameters and small energy requirements. Find out what you want first, and then we can get deeper as you go. So that's a very cool approach that you mentioned.
Yes, and also for models, I would say uh, if models produce a lot of, let's say, unnecessary unrequired information, so technically they have limit of the to the length of the answer and information they can keep in their memory, and when they produce unnecessary information, automatically it reduce their internal efficiency. So that's why, like, starting from these small steps and like fine-grained approach is more preferable. And let's also keep in mind when we come to this smart assistance, so quite often, as you also mentioned, we are in situation unknowns, right? So we don't
Yeah,
understand completely the landscape of the question which we're trying to explore, and we are looking some seeds, some ideas which we can kind of catch and then start building on top of it. And
right.
in this particular case, of course, when we can just like to get some mind map of where to go, what to think about, and then start to like kind of develop in some particular area. That's maybe a good solution. So for those who is developing and the products for clients, especially in customer segments, I would suggest to focus on it. I've seen this week several implementations from real life implementations of chatbots based on LLMs, and I've discovered this, I would say, behavior when the model producing quite big amount of information. And let's be honest, these models we are using when we are on a go, when we are somewhere in some situation when we need to just quickly to explore something. So
True.
better to keep these answers short and let's client, customer, any user to ask a little bit more, expand a little bit more, rather than directly throw a big amount of information from the first
Right.
moment.
And I guess, well, maybe, okay, so I think the reason they haven't necessarily, especially with, let's say, ChatGPT and Gemini, they haven't started with a specific flow where they ask the user, input some information about yourself, how you're going to use maybe Gemini or ChatGPT first. They don't ask these questions maybe at the beginning because they want to see first how you're going to interact with it naturally without putting yourself in a box. So, like, for example, this is an interesting exercise people can try is go and ask ChatGPT, what do you know about me uh, based on the past whatever months or the past conversations we've had. Can you assess my personality? And I think you'd be shocked by the answers you'll get.
Yeah,
Like it will
for
tell you things
ChatGPT,
about
that's
yourself.
interesting exercise. Yes, I agree. I agree. But like for other, let's say, some other alternatives, I'm mostly using Claude. So they do have quite useful concept of spaces or projects, and in this particular case, you are likely to have those context isolated from each other. So one context you can explore like one set of the questions and topics, another, and like it is very useful when you would like to be more, let's say, more focused on some particular goal.
Yeah.
And overall, that's a good approach. So I tell one more advantage why I like this type of approach. So for each project, you can set up different system prompts. And what this system prompts give, basically, you are called to another person, to another role, to join you in this particular challenge. For example, you're working on some marketing related task. You can configure the marketing person, marketing digital assistant, who will be looking at your questions and your challenges from marketing perspective. So
Nice. Yep.
if you would like to look as the founder, or if you would like to look as a CFO, you can set up different roles, and you will always have this let's say special perspective. ChatGPT, fortunately or unfortunately, what I found, like for them, it's just lack of the like it just generic the some generic assistant, and then most of the chats without configurations, they're generic assistants, and they recommend generic questions. It was funny case during the ADIPEC as well. So we met two different persons from oil and gas industry, and of course they had this interaction with ChatGPT to kind of to prepare themselves for the conference. And funny, both of them, they received this generic set of the
Response.
set of the responses, but in nutshell, so it they have like different backgrounds, they have different roles in the organization, and potentially they may have like different markets, different regions, but the assistant was like generic enough to bring
Yep.
this.
And it makes sense. I think like it's as generic as it gets, especially with these responses. And that's why the better context you give and the more information you give upfront about your persona, what you're trying to achieve, the different the more different the response will be. And at least, like, I think humans have such a good talent in recognizing when something is written by AI or done by AI. And I feel that if you're not putting effort in the prompt bit, you are going to get a generic response, and it's just going to sound like every other person. So, which means that if you're a very average person, whether you're someone who's really intelligent and talented, you're going to get a similar answer if you don't give it enough context and information. So it's going to be all about how you manipulate the response that you want to get and the language you want to be used. And I'm not talking about generic things like, tonality, being friendly or casual. Even such uh, styles can be easily detectable. And there is a generic template that the assistant will use. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of posts on LinkedIn that you can easily tell, like this is 100% written by an AI. And I just think when using it in such a way, it's a waste. You know, like it's an absolute waste.
Yes, so I used to work back in time as editor of magazine, and like chief editor of another magazine, and the goal was like goal was always to be to spark interest from first lines of like, in your audience. And the tools were quite different. It was language, like some exclusive topics, and image, and then different types of
Right.
kind of different types of sensor experience, right? So and the same here. So when we just capture this generated data, so it could be good as a reference, like as an entry point, but then how we will cook for particular audience, so it need to be defined, especially when we talk about different platforms. So from like some conservative platforms like Facebook to more say
Platforms like
modern,
Twitter,
modern
yes.
like TikTok and then Snapchat and all other things. So where and different formats and the different language audience expected if somebody talk on like completely foreign language for them, no, not much this not gonna work, right. So that's why we need to adopt and then to understand to whom we are trying to speak
Yeah,
to make this communication most efficient. And overall, so this generative AI, I would say if you would like look at this broadly, these are all about communication, how effectively we can communicate particular messages between different and transfer them between different channels of information. That's it.
makes sense. I can only imagine that the oil and gas industry is just so happy now, especially after ADIPEC. Uh, like they realized, hold on, if like the electricity generated from all this stuff, this only means the oil and gas is going to be even doing better because, well, I mean, electricity isn't growing on trees, and it's going to come from very finite number of sources, one of which is going to be oil and petrol. And so,
Yes, and
what was the sentiment like from your perspective? Like, what have you seen?
so yes. So for in ADIPEC in particular, we what's was really interesting to see the industry is of course aware about these changes which happened uh, in fields of information technologies, but at the same time, uh, for them it's also not obvious. So no clear entry point. So how to start this process efficiently, right? Because this energy very conservative, a lot of decision makers and not a lot of stakeholders. Uh, and should they initiate like like let's say founders of companies or shareholders, or it should go somehow from inside. But another question from inside, so how they gonna develop these uh, internal capabilities without funding? This particular area is required some funding anyway, especially for generative AI compute. It required GPU, it required energy, it required some qualified um, workforce, engineering workforce, to bring all this together. And in particular for oil and gas industry, of course, this quite sensitive information required on-premise solutions because of not only because of the data privacy, but also because of the nature of the industry. Some offshore how to say locations and sites, they don't have broad communication channels. For them, it will be great to explore them on edge devices, on edge solutions, and we likely we are focusing on this on-premise solution. So we see this like for what we are doing, this big demand, this good sign. So to bring this edge compute and edge like advanced say data processing to such type of customers, that's positive thing. But at the same time, yeah, they trying to explore like with internal teams, they trying to build some prototypes. Some companies they already have something. Some companies still looking for better, say, better times. But overall movements toward to this direction is very positive. So, and I would say also it was one of the speakers. He mentioned the very valid point. So basically, the the value is entire chain. We cannot talk about one model or one component as achievement. So as far as the performance of entire value chain could be positively impacted, so but like that's a goal, that's a value. So
Right.
because multiple components they exist in this chain, and of course, so the slowest one would impact the performance of entire process. And when I say process, it's not the only technical process; it's also organization, right? So let's say if some steps or some procedures required intensive human force. For example, I know for oil and gas industry, some processes of data assessment, they require different specialists should sit together, discuss, and then brainstorm. And this, like on regular basis, hundreds of human hours could be kind of like optimized. These people will still leverage their knowledge in different domains, but like now they spend in this just discussing so how to kind of adjust some particular parameters of oil production.
So it's just that the time it takes to brainstorm, research, organize information, and have it communicated across the value chain. This is what hopefully AI will enable them to do, so that the time to market is much like it shrinks. So that's how I can see it, at least from my understanding.
Yeah, absolutely. And for such type of organizations, I would say low hanging fruit is start with some small setup with small budget to set up this let's say trial sandbox where this AI capabilities will be safely exposed to entire department or organization. Give people a chance to play with it, because many of them, they would be happy to explore and find this uh, I would say value for their particular case. They know their cases uh, better than anybody else, and giving them just tools will spark their interest how to handle this, how to optimize. They will immediately get uh, response feedback from what could be done within their workflow. And it sometimes we could be surprised it quite a lot, even with simple tools, right? We are not talking about in-depth automation. We are talking about like how to bring big amount of data into the single spreadsheet and then just I would say
Yeah, yeah,
slice and dice it.
right. And like, what would be so? Imagine maybe an oil and gas company that has tens, thousands of employees. What would be the set of steps they have to take in order to reach the level where they can have a sandbox they can play around with and bring the subject matter expertise, who will then come up with a proper process that can be scalable across the organization? What would be the steps? Do they have to start with trainings and awareness, education across the organization, and then they can deal with maybe a company that specializes in these kinds of trainings and do them at the company? uh, do they have to experiment internally first? Like, what are the set of steps they have to take in order to reach the level that you're talking about?
So the key enabler for such organization would be to establish environment where the people can safely play with technology. That's the step number one. And depends on the size and organization or department. Better start with department when they can localize all the, let's say, activities like in one shot. So enabling this for them. When I say enabling, that basically required to set up environment, to find GPU compute, and bring the essential tools there. And we are happy to have this rich ecosystem of open source components, right? So for, which you can kind of benefit because of the thousands of engineers across the world contributing to them, support, maintain them. It doesn't require to 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 use some proprietary. I'm big fan and big supporter of open source. And by the way, so we can mention this, right? So here in UAE, we have bright community called Source Hive. So you can find on LinkedIn or internet. That community is dedicated to support open source solutions for variety of industries. So like whoever interested, please join. And yeah, so basically, as far as this built on open source, you can start using this within organization. And of course, training programs required to demonstrate how it works, what kind of capabilities people are looking for. So basically, what the major goal for those who implement this program to identify what kind of roles, what kind of support people required. Assuming when we talk about roles, when you're configuring such type of digital assistants, think about this as a person, right? Who will be helping you, helping to other person to get done some particular job. That's
Yeah,
it.
I
Once
would like that.
once this profile configured for particular department, so for users it looks like, let's say, I need to accomplish some speech writing task. I selected the role of speech writer and described what I'm looking for, guidance step by step, as we mentioned. You can get to some particular level of understanding what we are trying to achieve, and then the job will be done by the same role, by the same model. No?
Right. And I think there is one interesting use case that I've seen recently. Uh, I'm sure you've heard of AI 71, one of the biggest AI hubs in Abu Dhabi. I've seen they have one of their products in Lokai is something called MIRA. And MIRA is basically this assistant with a voice, a human like voice that can help customer support teams, which I have personally tested. It's on their website. Like if anyone wants to give it a shot, you can. It's Mira on Lokai. That's the website. We'll put it in the description. And that, yeah, you can just ask it questions and it will reply back as if it's a customer support specialist and will probably answer 90%, if not 100% of your questions. So it's exactly what you said, which is it's tailored, it's a use case tailored to a department, and the product is tailored for only specific uses. It's not as generic as maybe any uh, GPT model or an LLM out there. It's exactly what you're looking for. Even if you look up Hugging Face, I think you can find out a lot of models tailored for such use cases. So it doesn't have to be only customer support. It can be summarization, it can be questionnaires, it can be forms. So the use cases are endless. So probably it's a great place to just explore and play around with. Pick a use case and then see how it can fit your department. Right?
Yep, that's true. So maybe we will ask our audience. So if someone interested to hear more about some particular question, so please drop comments, or of course subscribe channel, share with your friends. So we would be happy to provide as much as possible insights from the industry and from the region to those who is interested in generative AI products and on different levels and integration with generative AI tools in their organizations. Yep. So I would like to share one more question. So which happened this week. So I was lucky to attend one event which was driven by Apple here in Dubai, and it was dedicated for exploration of Apple intelligence across developers community. So basically, what Apple doing? They introduced, just for the context, they recently introduced a variety of Apple intelligence tools across their devices, particularly M series, right? So right now, if you upgrade it already, so you can do summarizations, you can do some proofreading and other different interesting tricks. Like my personal favorite, I will share my tip. So you everybody know that this how to say voice recording tool exists for years in Apple devices, and now I found this like most one of the most useful components for me, because you can record on edge, transcript, and summarize any type of recording directly in your notes or from recording applications. Now the value of this tool increased. Like you see, the tool was there for years with uh, not small, it's significant add-ons. With several add-ons, the value of this tool has been raised drastically. So yeah, let's maybe discuss what do you feel about these let's say consumer-faced edge capabilities, and I maybe will tell a little bit about what was done on this Apple event.
I think this is my favorite feature, by the way. Funnily enough, I was working on a use case for recording, transcription, and summary myself. And then when Apple came out with this, I was like, I just don't need to anymore, do I? Because I was thinking about doctors and vets who generally record and have maybe some kind of a dictator or a dictation device, dictation tool, and they have to transcribe things manually. So when I saw this feature, I was like, okay, maybe I don't need to worry so much about this anymore. It's no longer a problem. It's a native feature. And I think this is amazing. Now we get to see people using it in their personal notes for their work, and we'll see multiple use cases within transcription, summary, and note taking. That's what I love the most about it. Now, how will this look like for the other Apple Intelligence features that are coming out? I think they're still experimenting, and honestly, I don't even know how confident they are in the other intelligence features yet. I think this is a huge experiment that they're running, and based on this iteration, they're going to see the data as they usually do, and they're going to narrow down things into one or two practical uses of Apple Intelligence, and then it will be embedded across maybe different apps. What I'm very interested about is how the Apple Vision Pro will be integrated with the Apple Intelligence when you're connecting it with your phone. So this is something that I still don't know much about, but I can probably see a lot of people interested in this, especially developers. This is going to be a huge thing. I think you remember when the metaverse was extremely popular and developers were jumping on it. This Apple Vision ecosystem that they're trying to create might be more interesting than we think. So yeah, I'm curious, what's your perspective on it? Do you see it being a successful product, given that you have both Apple Vision Pro and Apple Intelligence both in the same Apple ecosystem?
Vision Pro, I would say that it has some special place in their ecosystem, but Apple for Apple Intelligence, it was done a lot. So basically, Apple introduced a lot of the integration points for tools. So basically, you can implement these interfaces and integration approaches. You will make your application accessible with from Siri, from Apple Intelligence, different components, and
Finally,
yeah,
finally.
yes, and also it can interact with data, which your application can expose. With it, that looks awesome, and overall it's done quite smart way. So some functions they perform on edge, so on your device. Some data will be sent to the Apple servers.
Wow.
As Apple mentioned, now they trying to introduce the top-notch privacy approaches in particular. So they say data never stored, data goes just like one direction for processing and disappear, which is sounds nice, sounds good. So kind of um, a good technique, because most of the, not most, but like variety of providers, they trying to collect as much as possible from you. And in many countries, that's very sensitive point. I know in Europe, many countries, they were very conservative, in particular Germany. So they trying to control the level let's say, their data, personal data distribution, and doing this quite efficiently. So overall, basically, the good is Apple created this ecosystem of tools, right? So that the next turn for developers, how to integrate them and make them most efficient. For Apple Vision Pro, it was focused on immersive experiences, whatever could be done for users, but nothing maybe special, because the product is quite, I would say, quite a bit on the market exists, and when people mostly know what could be done, what could not be done. Yep. So uh, that's basically it. I hope these events will be more frequent here in the region. So this event happened since maybe last time it was 2020, as far as I remember correct, and now they kind of opened, renewed this, such a good hub for all the parties to kind of
Contribute,
yes, to contribute. A lot of people from different areas, they're here. So yeah.
which is great. I do feel that it's going to become frequent. If they were here pre-COVID, now they're post-COVID, it based on the attendance that you've seen, do you think it's going to be frequent?
I hope so. At least it was my like feeling of their intent. So that the response was quite positive from the audience who was interested uh, mm, in this technologies. It was dedicated mostly like quite technical, right? It will be interesting for people who has a technical background and understand, but also for product managers, it will be great to know what kind of capabilities are there. They basically were not there, they were not exist, and now they possible for mobile application integration. So not only mobile, so for any applications in Apple ecosystem. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
At
and
least tomorrow, if I want to set up an alarm with Siri, it won't be useless. Something we couldn't do before. Now, at least you could do that. And there is some utilization of a native app that will be that Siri can use finally, and hopefully other apps.
yeah, looking forward for next release 18.2, which will bring most advanced capabilities to our edge devices. But as of now, so it's time for from development perspective, it's time to start now. No point to wait. The also API is already available. So yeah,
Yeah, great. Well, I mean, today's been a great discussion. For everyone who's interested to hear more, please like, subscribe, and share this with anyone who's interested in these topics. We'll be having a lot more in the future. And yeah, I guess thanks a lot for today and appreciate it. Thanks, Dimitri.
absolutely. So